What is illegal, but completely moral? Distilling your own alcohol, without a permit. I can grow all the stuff myself. Legally. I can make booze up to a certain strength. Legally. But I can't legally heat it up and let it cool down in order to improve the flavor and alcohol content. Even if my only goal is to drink it myself. Unless someone tells me it's okay. I'm not saying I want to make my own bathtub moonshine. But buying a beer for a guy who lost an arm in Afghanistan. He's 18. Whistleblowing. It's sad how quickly we've forgotten people who have thrown away their careers and often risked their lives to share confidential information that's exposed wrongdoing. Pirating content that has been abandoned and can't even be purchased anymore. An out of print book. Or a game that isn't sold anymore. Not sure how it is in other states. But in California it's illegal to feed other people's meters. So you can't play Good Samaritan and walk down the street with a bag of coins making sure people don't get tickets. Edit. I don't know how to spell. At least in my city. Feeding the homeless. In the city my mom used to live in, it was illegal to give rides to people at a bus stop. My mom stopped and gave a ride to a woman who was running to catch a bus and missed it. The police pulled her over and told her it was illegal because people were using their cars to undercut the city buses. I'm not sure why it had to be a law. I get the safety aspect, but it seems like the whole purpose was to write tickets and keep people riding the city bus. Disconnecting from the power grid in certain areas is illegal. Cannabis. At this point most people understand that prohibition does not work. Pirating legally mandated technical standards such as building codes that are paywalled. If everyone is expected to follow the law, everyone should have free access to all of the content of the law. The people who write the copyrighted text of the building code need to be paid for their work. Fine. When the gov adopts the building code as law, it should be treated like eminent domain and the authors should be paid by the taxpayers. Same as the taxpayers pay when the government takes land to build a road. Only in this case they are taking a copyrighted work. Not anymore, but sodomy used to be illegal. It was especially funny considering sodomy laws were made by bigots who wanted to squash gay sex but didn't realize that those BGs they get from their wives on their birthday every year is sodomy as well. Wild camping in England. There is nothing wrong with it and people do it all the time. Some schools have a policy where if you and your friend are both drunk, and one of you needs medical attention, the other can call for help without getting in trouble through school policies, like underage drinking, etc. However, on the opposite side, if the school doesn't have this rule, if you turn your friend in to get medical attention, you can also get in trouble via school policies. This causes a couple people to think twice before helping your friend, which is completely ludicrous. Using solar energy for free. Spain is different. Planting vegetables in your front yard instead of growing grass. Collecting and storing rainwater. Finding the kid bullying your own kid and beating him with a sack of oranges. Giving and or receiving oral sex is illegal in 18 states still, including the one I live in. Love breaking this law as often as possible. Telling a juror about nullification. It's illegal to turn right at a red light in my city, but it's fine everywhere else in the province. Pirating games which can't be bought legally anymore. Eating a kinder egg in the US. The US government helped a US large corporation own the rights of all water in a municipality, such that even collecting rainwater from one's rooftops required getting a license from Bechtel. More than first, the World Bank refused to renew a $25 million loan unless water services were privatized. Then US water giant Bechtel stepped in and took control. It raised water rates by an average of 35%, meaning Bolivians earning $100 per month were paying a monthly rate of $20 for water. People even had to obtain licenses to collect rainwater from their roofs. Removing DRM from DVDs, music, etc. that you bought, so you can play it on devices you own. I buy a DVD while on holiday. It's region locked so I can play it when I get home. But if I dare to try and remove that region locking on something that I own, I'm in the wrong. How about when we buy something, we can ducking use it? Similar thing. I would gladly pay for something like Netflix if it meant I had access to the content. But in Spain I don't get that. I have to wait for 80 dubs of things months behind the rest of the world. I remember when Game of Thrones was on season 4 in English. We only just got season 2. So, I pirate it. That's illegal, yet no legal method is offered to get it. My dad is a criminal defense lawyer, and one of his recent clients is being tried for food stamp fraud because he had to take food stamps in exchange for cash or non-food stampable goods, such as alcohol, in order to keep his job. The dude didn't get anything out of it, he just operated the till and didn't want to lose his job. What the duck is a random Iraqi immigrant supposed to do in that situation? Shooting or beating up a house intruder. No joke, people broke into houses, got beat up by the people living there, and then sued the house owners for monetary compensation. Being able to legally consent in the UK but can't watch porn for another 2 years. Not that anyone cares if you're 18. A huge reminder that just because something is law that doesn't make it right. Smoking, or eating THC to alleviate pain. Feeding the homeless in public in Florida. Pulling the skimmies off of atoms. Having a drink on your own front porch, in Tennessee, even though it's rarely enforced. I've seen it used by police to just pile on charges when someone in a domestic dispute rubbed them the wrong way. In Milwaukee and Chicago, it's illegal for any female to live W more than 2 other females, unless they're related. Illegally downloading research journal manuscripts. I'm literally trying to advance science and you're charging me for it. Pumping your own gas in New Jersey. Breaking a window to get a dog out of a hot car. 2 consenting adults paying for 6. Treating a child without the parent's consent. Scenario normally goes: kids are at soccer practice and the child gets drop kicked in the face. Non-emergency care, medical professional is there, normally a parent of a teammate, and treats the kid. Technically, this practice is illegal because the child is under 18 and needs verbal written consent from the legal guardian. Pirating games when it's impossible to purchase them legally. Region locking. You already own a copy for one platform and want it on another. In the city my brother lives in, it's illegal for women to drink coffee after 6 PM. They don't enforce that law, but it is in the law books. Putting money in other people's parking meters is illegal. I don't know if it's illegal, but when I reached the 5 limit download on songs I purchase from iTunes, I started downloading them for free from less than reputable sites. Eating food drinks from a grocery store that are supposed to be thrown away may not be illegal, but will get you fired or wrote up. Filming inside slaughterhouses. I worked in a court for about a decade. One time, mid-December, a homeless man was brought in for arraignment for stealing. He was cold and came across one of those dumpsters that people can throw clothing donations in. He jumped in and dug through everything until he found a coat. He took only the coat and nothing else. An officer driving by saw him climbing out of the bin and made contact. The man admitted to taking the coat and was arrested and booked on theft charges. He subsequently was found guilty and given a fine that he could clearly never pay. I realize the act of theft is illegal in itself, but I felt like this should have been an exception. The whole purpose of those donation bins is for the items to go to people in his exact situation. Selling your own organs. Honestly, I think if people could choose to sell their own organs legally, like a kidney or liver, that they don't need for their own survival, and insurance companies paid the organ donor, the transplant list would be a lot shorter. Hacking into Ugster and making all academic journals freely accessible for all. Pro-democracy protests in oppressive regimes. Biking on the sidewalk. I've never heard of a driver saying, "Gosh, I wish bikes would bike in the road," cause that's the law. In several US states it's illegal to buy milk from a dairy farmer. Paying someone else's parking meter if you notice they are about to run out. I personally can't stand marijuana. I hate the way it smells. Years ago I tried it and I hate the way it reacted with me. It was only a handful of times, lol high school right, but it almost always made me sick. I really can't stand it. But my answer? Cannabis. And those in power. Marib with the exception of windmill tilting sessions. No, it's not a big deal. But it sure is a handy control point for the poor, disadvantaged, Non-white. Any intellectually honest review of the last 40 years should result in an assessment that the war on drugs, and particularly on marijuana, is the immoral path here, and again, those in power know it. Well over $1 trillion spent on the war on drugs so far, and street prices are down. Purity is up. Ease of access is higher than ever. You don't keep doing something that is failing. So, it's not failing. They're just not honest about the goals. And again, this is coming from someone who barely even drinks. I work in an industry that is subject to random drug testing with zero notice. This is absolutely no hardship or scare for me. Underage drinking. A casual drink with family members every now and then at age 18-19 is perfectly fine. Getting wasted underage often, well, that's a different story. It could be damaging to an underdeveloped brain. I get why the law exists, to protect the stupid people, but it's not immoral to drink underage. DR-assisted suicide for terminally ill patients. Psychedelic mushrooms can help people with depression and terminally ill people come to terms with dying. They are also non-addictive.